for more on this, I can bring in our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Thanks very much for joining me, Philip. So, high treason then. That's what the junta is saying. What evidence do they have for this, and what could the potential consequences be for President Bazoum?
Well, on the first point, we don't know, because they have given absolutely no information about what high treason means and whether or not, as you said in your introduction, the president faces the death penalty at the end of it all. If he's found guilty, of course, what we do know is they've been saying that he has been undermining the internal and external security of Niger with exchanges with foreign heads of state and heads of international organizations. But there again, we don't know which ones these are and which organisations he's supposed to have been in contact with. Remember that Mohamed Bazoum has been under house arrest since the coup took place on the 26th of July. So it's quite hard for him to be in contact with those organisations, one would imagine. He did meet with the Chadian president. He did sign an editorial in a United States newspaper. But he is the elected president of Niger. He hasn't stood down from that role. I think this is another way of the junta putting the pressure on all those who think, well, there may be a crack of light at the end of the tunnel that President Bazoum may be released or allowed to leave Niger to go to another country. It certainly doesn't look like that as we speak. I think also we're seeing a contradiction on the part of the coup leaders in the fact that they are stepping up the ante against President Bazoum, but at the same time they're sort of saying, well, we might be open to some kind of diplomatic solution. So I think we all had to take this with a relative amount of caution over what exactly this means when push comes to shove.
On the diplomatic route there, doesn't this throw quite a large spanner into the works? I mean, they were just telling mediators that they'd be open to talks to end this standoff with the West African bloc ECOWAS.
Well, I think really you have to put this other way round, Peter. I think you've got the talks on Saturday night with this group of Muslim leaders, really pro-Salafist leaders who were sent with the benediction of ECOWAS to meet the military leaders in Niger to try to work out some kind of movement forward. So there is a slight opening of the door. They said 4 things which are important. The first one is the doors are open to explore diplomacy and peace. The coup was well intended because there was a threat which would have affected not only Niger but Nigeria. We don't know what that threat is. It was painful, they say, that ECOWAS issued the ultimatum calling for the president to be released without hearing their side of the story. And the fourth one is apologising for not having met the ECOWAS delegation. So they are opening the door a little bit towards eventually meeting with ECOWAS to discuss the situation. We don't know what those discussions would be based on. Is that due to the increased pressure from ECOWAS, the sanctions on the one side, the reduction in electricity, 70% being turned off from Nigeria, so people are suffering, and also the threat of military intervention from ECOWAS, which is preparing its forces possibly to do that? All of that may be so. So they are being forced really to open the door a little bit. But at the same time, they're saying, well, OK, we're going to open the door and maybe we might come to the negotiating table to start talking to you. But remember, we still have Mohamed Bazoum. And if you have any idea that he's going to be released from custody, then that's not the case, because we now have enough evidence to prosecute him and to accuse him of high treason. So I think that is the game that the putschists are playing. Obviously, there is a lot of pressure on the putschists to come up with some kind of solution, not only towards ECOWAS, but also within the country. We've seen an increase in violence by jihadist groups since they took power. So there is a lot of pressure on the jihadi, on the group running the country right now, the putschists, to come up with some kind of solution to appease the people, to show the people that they are taking the right decisions at a time when there have been pro-Bazoum protests in Niger, one in Niger and one in Nigeria over the weekend. So I think they're definitely feeling the pressure. And I think that is how we have to try to interpret what we're seeing now from the putsch leaders.
Yeah, hence the mixed messages then there. Thank you, Philip Turle, for your insight on that.